I did not have to add a user to the system, which is important. But I'm also going to show, there's the exact same script, get telnet. So I'm going to show that. And during the get telnet, I'm going to add a user and a password. See, the help commands are generally about the same. But at this point, I'm going to give it the -u and the -p for a username and password. We'll use the old root tour.
Can't believe it's not looking like that.
That's pretty neat.
That skill.
Man, I had to video it all, sorry. I did not pray to the live demo guys this morning.
EA completely spectacular.
So, I am going to do a live demo of Metasploit Express at the end. Hopefully. Anyway, so you see I telnet in, use my login that I created. Something that's cool about the scripts is it automatically adds me to the administrator group, which is right where I want to be to cause some havoc. So that's that script. Really useful. That script is even more useful on newer systems where telnet is not enabled by default. This script is called persistence. This creates a persistent backdoor. And what it does is it uploads the backdoor and then it immediately connects a reverse shell session back to your computer. It also adds entries to the registry so that it will be there on reboot. So that's what I'm going to show. See how it added the registry entries to auto run when it restarts. So then I'm going to reboot the Windows system right here. Well, first I'm going to background this. First I'm going to start my handler. Anytime you have a reverse shell, you got to start a handler to accept the connection. There's my second shell has already come. But what I'm really interested in is that shell being there when I reboot the machine.
One caveat with this though is it does not clean itself up.
Correct. It does not clean itself up. So you would manually have to go into the registry after you are finished and delete those entries. Here's my favorite script before it runs. It's almost just like the scraper script, except for I think it gathers a little bit more information. It's called the WinEnum script, and what it does is it runs all those really tedious netsh commands that are really hard to remember on a Windows box, and it saves them all really nicely in a directory, kind of like the one Adrian showed. It's similar. I haven't determined which one has the best information yet. See how it gets all my subnets, gets all my routes, gets all my netstat information, net accounts. It always hangs here for some reason. Domains, administrator groups, firewall config, task list. This is just an absolute goldmine of information, especially if you need to further infiltrate the system. And given somebody on a penetration test this much information will make their jaw drop, I promise. All right, so just to show the information, we're just going to go over here. They'll be located in the .nsf3, whatever user you're running as, logs, WinEnum. So I'm just going to show you what some of the text files look like. There's a bunch of them. Some of the more interesting ones are startup programs. I'll show you why when we inject an exe here in a few minutes. Injecting an exe in a startup program is always good since you know the backdoor will be there. It has the hash down, of course. Programs list. As you can see, we got SQL server running. That's always interesting information. Here's the startup list. So now I can look at one of these programs and I can look at something to inject my exe into. All right, so at this point, got this video on creating, encoding, and uploading a Meterpreter backdoor. If anybody has any questions, just stop me. I think I went through the whole exploit here. Sorry. If anybody doesn't know how to do the MS0867 exploit when they leave here. I'm going to set the payload as Meterpreter. This time I'm going to use at this point I'm just going to use the bind TCP to connect, and then when I set the payload it's going to be a reverse TCP because I want it to reconnect to me. So here I am on the system. I want to get my UID. As you can see, I'm already system, so I don't have to load the privilege module or anything like that. So now what I'm going to do is switch to the command line version of Metasploit, and I'm going to create a payload, MSF payload, Windows Meterpreter, reverse TCP. I'm going to have to set my local host, which would be my attacking machine. Appears I forgot the IP address. Good to always check it. Make sure. I can't tell you how many times I've put the wrong IP address in there. Set the local port. It's 444 by default on almost every exploit, so if you like that, you can just do that. But like some people said before me, that's monitored by a great many monitoring programs. Then we're going to pipe that into MSF encode. I know we've already gone over this a few times. Something nobody showed was the B option, which is to omit a certain byte. So I want to omit all the null bytes from my shell code. Then the T flag is for executable. And then the O flag is, of course, for the output file. And then E is the encoder. I'm going to use that, well, when I spell it right, I'm going to use the x86 Shikata encoder, which is supposed to be the best. If I ever had a wish for Metasploit, I wish they'd give these encoders easier names to remember.
All about the path completion.
Like really good. Anyway, the C option is how many times you want to encode it. At this point, most AV has caught on to most of this stuff, so now we're into double and triple encoding, which you sometimes have to do. There's some EXEs I found that can't be encoded. I tried to encode Skype the other day, and they actually use a packer, just like crackers use with their systems, which I think is really odd. But anyway, so I was not able to inject an EXE into Skype, just in case anybody was wondering. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my reverse handler to accept the connection. Let's just use exploit multi-handler. The important thing about this is to set the payload as the exact same payload that you put in the executable. Show options, make sure I didn't forget anything. Of course I did. So, of course, the local host has to be the same. And then we're going to get that running. So that's just going to run. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another script, which I saved for this, excuse me, called schedule me, which is going to add my executable. It's going to upload it, and it's also going to add it to restart with the system. Uploading it, scheduling the command. There's a few cleanup commands you can run. I didn't do that. As you can see, I've already gotten a bunch of sessions from that. Now I'm going to reboot the machine and make sure that it connects back to me. Well, here you go. I said I wasn't a teacher or an instructor or any of those things. So it's already connected back to me. It actually connects back to me on 2 sessions. And so that's how you do that. And that will reboot with the machine every time. Once again, that does not clean itself up. Even clearing the event log will not fix that. All right. here's the PS execute one we've been talking about all morning. I'm actually going to show it using the hash instead of the actual username and password. So here we go on the good old system. So we're going to hash dump here. Like I said, generally people are lazy. The administrator hash will be the same all the way across the network. Dave actually just told me a really neat way before this presentation to check every system on the subnet for a hash, which I haven't tried out yet, but I will as soon as I get home now. Or else I probably would have incorporated it into this. So I'm going to search. I'm going to use the SMB PS execute. Yeah, I'm sorry I used all the console. I didn't use the web app at all because it's on the way out, as far as I know. So we're going to show the options. There's just the normal options, except for we can set the password as the hash. So we're going to set our remote host.
And real quick thing with this too is if you exploit a system and you notice that the LM hash is the same, I think it's AAB343 is the initial start point. It means that the hash value is over 14 characters, so the LM hash isn't there, but it will still work without that. So if you don't have an LM hash and you have the anti-LM hash, it'll still work.
You put all zeros in there, right?
No, what Metasploit will do is Metasploit or
It
whatever
will do it itself?
It'll do it itself, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see how I set my SMB password, and I just used the complete LM hash and the colon and the NTLM hash. I'm going to set my payload as Meterpreter, of course, since that's what I'm talking about. Verse TCP. And make sure I got all my options correct. Got to set the local address. Yeah, I think that's going to work.
It's hard when not looking.
Don't make me break out any Sackmaniac jokes.
One little typo in my presentation. Right in your life.
More of a font selection issue.
Yeah, it's a font selection.
If anybody's wondering what we're talking about, Dave did a presentation at Shmoo, and he had our friend DigIP make this really cool presentation for him, and his website's called Sackmaniac, but it came out as Sackmaniac.
So needless to say, I've heard that the rest of my life.
Right. Anyway, so what happened here, as you can see, is we exploited the system. We got a shell. You can see how the hash went right in there. I just hit the shell command. That gives us log on to system 32 since we logged on as the administrator. We use the administrator hash for that. Next one I'm going to show, Adrian already showed this, so we'll go through it real fast. Clearing the event logs. There is one thing about clearing the event logs is it's not actually perfect. It does leave one significant thing behind, which is, I'll show on this, which is a 517 event. So if you get to work and